Chapter 7. Captain, Commander McMasters asked that you return to the bridge. Thalia's voice had a different sound to it. For some reason she appeared happy, almost giddy with excitement. But she can't have those emotions, she's nothing but a computer, he thought, as he moved about the ship headed to the elevator after seeing that Jessie had entered the shuttle. Dorian stepped into the elevator, and it zoomed him to the commander's deck. He trod on the bridge and met McMasters. "Has there been any changes?" "Yes." "I wondered why Thalia appeared so." "Never mind," he said, passing his hand across his face and looking at McMasters with a gloomy expression. "What has happened now?" He took his chair and dropped his exhausted body in it. Looking at the computer screen for a moment, he then turned and stared out into space. He saw the shuttle enter into the darkness of space, and saw the light in the shuttle for a moment, and then disappear. Most of the pods were gathered by that spaceship following us. "The one that had its cloaking mechanism active," McMasters said. Dorian turned away from thinking about Jessie in his chair to face McMasters. "I suspect it's Lannis." Dorian turned back to look at his screen. "It's Lannis, all right. He's in our Federation, one of our allies." "I know, but he had been acting more like an enemy. Since when do our friends skulk around to avoid being seen?" McMasters said, staring out. "Since the universe have been open to everyone. He doesn't know if we're friends or foe. It's better to have him, as you say, skulking around and there to assist us, than to have him as an enemy. That engineer had dismantled our computers to allow the Voltas to come aboard the vessel and take us back to their planet for food. If Jessie hadn't been there..." He paused and gave out a loud breath just thinking about her. It was the most painful thing he had done, and the most painful thing that had happened to him besides losing his parents early in his life. Dorian paused to think about Jessie all alone in the shuttle and maybe drifting in space. It was too late to call her back to tell her Janice would assist the Star Splitter. There wasn't enough signal power on the shuttle to reach her. He didn't want to think about how important she had been in his life. She had made his time aboard the ship tolerable and gave him something to look forward to. He wished he was a robot without feelings. He thought at this time how good it would be to be one of those androids. Focusing back to Lannis and the Voltas, we would be setting on their plates this very minute. If they used plates, those hideous creatures would probably eat us, clothing and all, he joked sarcastically as his mind wandered. The Voltas, of course. "Thank goodness the Federation thought far enough ahead to place her on your ship," McMasters said. "Where is she?" "You know how Jessie is. She has her own mind." Dorian had to laugh to himself at that statement. "We need her up here," McMasters reminded Dorian. "She can't be here. She said that she needed to go out and try to retrieve some of the pods, or reach a planet that's close enough where she can have them pick up the pods and get help for the ship. At best it would take a year if she's lucky." "You shouldn't have let her go," McMasters said with a worn, crushed look on his face. A man in his 40s, a large man who now looked much older. His eyes were a piercing blue, and his face was strong with a square jaw. His forehead had furrowed from many worries, and from trying to give direction to Dorian and the ship's young officers. The young officers were the future, and that was his job to prepare them for what came at them in space. But they could never be prepared, because it was an unknown frontier. Now without Jessie, it was uncertain if any of the officers would have a future. "Jessie is part of this ship. She is this ship." He put his hand on Dorian's shoulder and led him away from his crew and into the corridor. "What are you talking about?" Dorian asked. An imprecise and troubled look crossed McMasters' face. "You don't seem to understand, do you?" He looked past Dorian. "The ship was built not for us. We are just the mechanics that keep it working. But she is the ship. If she dies, the ship dies, and therefore all aboard will die." But she said that it was me, the one that kept her, the ship and everyone alive. It is you she was built for, but she is the ship and the ship is her. When you grow old and can no longer function, then the next captain will take over and the ship will be reprogrammed with another android that will be his life's force. She is your life's force. Why didn't you tell me? Dorian paced the length of the hallway, his hands rubbing his day-old beard. It took you so long to consummate your relationship with Jessie that I couldn't tell you until after it was done. If for any reason you would not have committed to her, the board would have replaced her. I was ready and prepared to tell you, but then this happened. But I didn't think you would allow her go off alone out there. We may never be able to find her, no less retrieve her. Oh my God. I have to get her back. She is all I've ever wanted in life, and to know that we can never be together again will destroy everyone. I know now she needs me as much as I need her. It had finally dawned on Captain Dorian of the Star Splitter how important Jessie was to him. She was his everything, and after her, there would be no other. He wouldn't accept anyone else to replace her. He couldn't. As long as she was out there, he had to look for her if it took to his dying day. No matter how far he had to go to find his Jess, he would. He now dreamed of going back to Earth with Jess and falling in love all over again with her. But it was no more than just a dream.